Further proof that Major League Baseball just does not want to see a team like the Milwaukee Brewers succeed or get any glory. We'll talk about that coming up next here on Locked On.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, yeah, it is great to be back with you as we're back from the 4th of July weekend holiday. Hope you had a good one. Got a chance to watch Brewers baseball. Hope you all did. And follow our favorite sports team, or in this case, for you in Wisconsin out there, hopefully in the top 3 or 4 sports teams in the state of Wisconsin. We all love the Milwaukee Brewers, trying to pull this team to a World Series championship. One World Series appearance in 54 years isn't good enough for us. We need more. We need championships. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin and host of Locked On Brewers. Thanks for everybody for joining me here on this podcast. The Brewers, by the way, after this week of games, they come back home and they play Pittsburgh for 3, Washington for 3, and next Sunday, that'll be it for Brewer baseball until next Saturday. Now, they used to take like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off after the All-Star break, but now they're taking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, and the Brewers won't start again until a week from Saturday when they're in Minnesota, where a lot of Brewer fans will be. There's no doubt about that. We'll talk more about that coming up ahead. But yeah, Major League Baseball, I just think the Brewers getting 2 All-Stars to the game is a complete joke. Now, to be honest with you, the All-Star game, watching the All-Star game, the glory of the All-Star game isn't what it once was. I think we all know that. And it's not turned into like what the NBA has. The NBA All-Star game is very, very bad. Okay. But this All-Star game, it used to be a must watch because there was a time when, before the ESPNs of the world and all that, there was hardly any baseball on TV. You couldn't even get your local team have its home games. The Brewers' home games weren't even on TV till about 25 years ago. But, that's all changed. But watching the All-Star game, you'd be able to watch like other players that you never get a chance to see. Oh, that guy from Seattle. Oh, I got his baseball card. Maybe I got a Stratomatic card. Oh, I get a chance to see this guy actually play in the All-Star game. Oh, what cool jerseys. Now, for the most part, unless you're the Milwaukee Brewers, you're on national TV a whole heck of a lot. As we've been talking about, the Brewers are never on national TV. I'll talk further about that a little bit later on here in the podcast. But I think the Brewers, 3rd best team of the National League, knocking on the door of the 2nd best team in the National League, the LA Dodgers, and still the Brewers, the 2 All-Stars they got had to get voted in. 2 All-Stars, Christian Yelich, Will Contreras, deserved voted into the All-Star game. And Yelich will start in center field, Contreras at catcher. But how is Brice Turang not in this game as a reserve? The reserves were announced on Sunday. How is Brice Turang not in this game? He is, if you follow the analytics, he's 4th in the National League. Wins against replacement, the WAR rating. He's 4th in and you look at some pretty good companies. Shohei's on there and all that. I think Shohei is number 1. 4th in the National League in WAR. Everybody wants to use this analytics stuff. How is Turang not in it? How is the eye test of Turang not in it? How about the big times that guy gets on base, steals you a base, makes a defensive play at second base? All right, all those things. If you watch Brewers baseball on a daily basis, like and I know all you all do, you know that Brice Turang is playing at an all-star level. He's at 288 right now. That's good enough for me. That's an all-star considering what he does at the top of the lineup. Never gets caught stealing a base either. Makes things happen. Is he the igniter? Is he Paul Molitor? He ain't there yet, but sure as heck, Brice Turang is a pretty good leadoff hitter. One of the best leadoff hitters I've seen for a long time with the Milwaukee Brewers. I like him. I want him to stay, and the guy should have been an all-star. Now, again, being on the all-star team to me, watching the game isn't what it once was, but if my guys are playing, that's fine. Brice Turang should be in the all-star game. Now, the argument is, Luis Arise should not be in the game. The Padre who got traded over from the Marlins because he's only played 6 games at second base. Again, the system is all screwed up. Why is Arise in the All-Star game? Turang still could get in. He still could get into the game because of an injury. Marte has got a back injury with Atlanta, or with Arizona, I should say. I think he's been out since Friday. We'll see if he's going to go to the All-Star game. But that's the way Turang could get in. Now, see, I mean, when players get added because of injury, I don't really look at that as being an all-star, okay? Yeah, Turang will be an all-star, but when you have injuries in front of you, and then all of a sudden you start adding players, it's like, man, this guy should have been an all-star to begin with. But in this case, I think with Turang, I changed my mind. If he gets added in because of injury, he would have deserved to have been in anyway, okay? But when guys get added because of injury, normally you're like, oh, God, well, he wouldn't have made it team if it wasn't for an injury. They didn't think enough of him. They should have thought enough of him, and Turang should. There should be more than 2 Brewers in this All-Star game. An absolute joke. There should be more than 2 Brewers in this game. Third place in the National League as far as, the composite of all the teams in the National League. They're in first place in their division. They're third behind the Phillies and Dodgers and knocking at the Dodgers' door. Dropped 2 or 3 to them this weekend. But, this idea of they have to get rid of this antiquated idea in the All-Star game about having a player from every team. And the Brewers have benefited from this in the past where they've had lousy teams, and Fernando Vina makes the all-star team. I'm just making an example like that. Makes an all-star team, okay? And didn't deserve to be on the all-star game. This is an antiquated rule where you got to have a representative from every team. BS to that. Best players in the all-star. It's an all-star game. It's an all-star game. We want the best players. The best players should be playing. If you're going to have the best players playing, Brice Turang is one of the best second basemen in baseball. Brice Turang should be playing, should be starting. Not only playing, he should be starting in the All-Star game. I don't think I'd get any argument out of that. Bryan Hudson, on the other hand, yeah, he had a bad weekend. He's given up runs in each of his last 3 starts. He had an ERA of 0 in the month of June, and I believe in April and May, ERA well under 1. And this month, July, well, a couple of bad outings, 3 bad outings in a row, and an ERA of 13.57 for the month of July. But you know what? He's given up 3 home runs in his last 2 outings. But, so are we going to keep Bryan Hudson off the All-Star? Oh, wait, that's right. He's a middle reliever. We don't put middle relievers on the All-Star game, no matter how dominant they are. Another stupid rule. But Bryan Hudson, I don't care if he's got another bad outing in him this week. Bryan Hudson has done enough and has been valuable enough to the Milwaukee Brewers. He's an all-star. He's been one of the better pitchers in baseball. When you're one of the better pitchers in baseball, you're an all-star, in my opinion. You want to see the all-stars, you want to see the best players, Bryan Hudson is. Yeah, gave up 2 bombs on Saturday. Before that, Friday night, gave up 1. Saturday, gave up the tying run. Came back to win that game. Was it? It wasn't Thursday. It was Tuesday. It was last Tuesday against Colorado. It was one of those games. Whatever the hell game it was against the Rockies. He gave up the run in the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th inning, and the Brewers came back and won. So I'm getting my games mixed up. But I know Bryan Hudson has had 3 games in a row where he hasn't pitched very good. But that doesn't tell me, well, Bryan Hudson's not an all-star. He was an all-star going into last week, and he's an all-star coming out of the week. 3 bad outings is not going to, his ERA is still 1.54. 1.54 to appear in the amount of games that he has, a 0 ERA for June. And middle relievers, we put more, everybody in baseball says we put more value on middle relievers than ever before. And how come Bryan Hudson, best middle reliever, best numbers in Major League Baseball, on a first-place team, okay, not in the All-Star game? Brewer pitching, fantastic. Okay, we all talk about the Brewers needing pitching, and pitching is going to be the difference. But how do the Brewers not get one pitcher? One pitcher on this All-Star game, on this All-Star team. And I'm not saying any of those starters should have made it. Okay, I'm not saying any of those starters, Maybe Gasser was on his way. Okay. Colin Ray, way outside shot. But Bryan Hudson, for sure, should have been on this all-star team as a pitcher representing the first place Milwaukee Brewers. And if you want to add Trevor Megill, go ahead. He's got 18 saves, an ERA of, well under 2. No earned runs allowed for a while. The guy has been incredible. The guy wasn't even supposed to be the closer on this team. Obviously, Devin Williams pushed into the closer's role, got his first save of the season way early in the year, and has been dynamite ever since. Trevor Megill. If you think Bryan Hudson's got too common of a name, if he doesn't have some standout fancy name, okay, or some gimmick where he should get in, okay, but Bryan Hudson, just some normal guy. Bryan Hudson's, his name gets lost in the crowd. And Trevor Megill, a little bit more fancier name, 6'8", 30 years old, should be on the all-star team as well. Yeah, Bryan Hudson, maybe too common of a name. He's got a common name, Bryan Hudson. There's probably a million Bryan Hudsons in the world, okay? Trevor Megill, I don't know. You go to True People search, you probably don't find many Trevor Megills out there, but you're sure as heck going to find a lot of Bryan Hudsons. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but Bryan Hudson, maybe it's name recognition. That name just doesn't stand out. Bryan Hudson, that name just doesn't stand out. Shutdown innings, you name it. But the Brewers should have 4 all-stars. Should be Contreras, obviously, Yelich, obviously, Hudson, and Megill. First place Brewers, 4 all-stars. And the heck with this system where every team, like I guess, what are the 2 teams? Florida and Colorado. McMahon had to make it from Colorado, and I believe Florida was the other team that had to have a player because they're just so bad that they had to, the rule is you got to have at least 1 all-star. Like anybody from Florida is going to be watching the all-star game anyway. God, just pathetic. Really bothers me. The bullpen. The bullpen is teetering a little bit. Bryan Hudson, part of that in the last couple of days. I know I'm ruining my argument, but the big picture on Bryan Hudson is he's been great. But I don't think we have anything to worry about the bullpen. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. All right, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hi, everybody. Chuck Freeman. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. Wherever you download your podcast, we are there. The audio version, we're here Monday through Friday after Brewer games. And, of course, our growing YouTube page. Please search us on YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. And you can also subscribe to us wherever you download your podcast. We're free. We're free here all the time for you, putting out Brewers content because we're the #1 Brewer podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans out there. All right. Prize Picks, sponsor of this show, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Maybe like Yelich over half a hit for a game on Tuesday when the Brewers play the Pirates. Maybe like that. Get in on all the action with your friends. Again, 2 to 6 players you pick and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Here's what you need to do, though. You need to download the app, Prize Picks, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. That's Locked On MLB. Prize Picks, that first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And by the way, you get all the Brewer games on SiriusXM, the SXM app. Search Brewers. You get all 162 of Brewers baseball. I was in northern Wisconsin this weekend. Northern Wisconsin for the 4th of July. Watched the game on a TV in a sports bar in northern Wisconsin. There are actually places that don't have cell service in Wisconsin. I thought in everywhere in the country there was cell phone service. Seems right now there are certain parts of the parts of the country, and maybe it's 99.9, but I didn't hear any. I couldn't get a reading as I was trying to watch the game on my phone on Thursday night. But got to the sports bar and did see the Brewers lose. God, Northern Wisconsin, man. Brewer fans out there, people huddled around the TV watching the game. That is just so good to see. Way up at Packer country up there. Well, Packer country is throughout the state of Wisconsin, throughout the United States almost. But, good to see people involved and in tune talking about our favorite team, the Milwaukee Brewers. All right. On the bullpen, yeah, it's a little bit of misery, a little teetering as of late, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. So I think some people are a little bit that, maybe the bullpen is running down a little bit. It's not as good as it was. We knew this was going to happen, though. We knew the bullpen was going to go through this type of little bit of a rut because there's some overuse out there. They've been overusing these guys since the beginning of the year because of necessity, okay? Because of starting pitchers going down, starting pitchers going on the injured list, starters missing games, all these guys. Freddie's really been the only guy and Colin Ray, who's been out there on a daily basis, not missing any turns. But I'll tell you what, I like Jacob Junis coming out of the bullpen. I know he had a rough outing. He had a rough outing today, a little bit. Gave up a 2-run home run, 3 hits over 2 innings. But still, I do like the guy. I like him. He got the save earlier on the road trip. But I like Junis. I think Junis is going to be a real benefit. I don't want him starting, but I think he's going to be a big part of the team out of the bullpen going down the stretch. A couple of other guys, Piguero, good to see him get back on track on Sunday, striking out a side. Megill got into the game, struck out the side. I expect that from Megill. But this bullpen is going to be just fine, I think. The starters need to go a little bit longer. Trevor Megill went into the 5th inning on Sunday, but that's what we're expecting from, Dallas Keuchel went into the 5th inning on Sunday, but that's what we're expecting of Dennis Keuchel. What he gave on Sunday, this is what 4 1/3, 3 hits, 5 walks, no Ks. Yeah, the Brewers got him some offense, but I'm not expecting 2018 Dallas Keuchel right now. This is what we're expecting. So you got to have the bullpen ready. There's some guys in the starting rotation. You got to have the bullpen ready, and that's why the bullpen is taxed. But am I going to be worried about it? No, because every time I felt worried back in May, but the Brewers proved me wrong. They were able to bounce back. These guys, this coaching staff, this front office is a smart staff. Pat Murphy, smart guy. He'll figure it out. He's figured it out this far so far. And I think we're in good hands with Murphy. He'll figure it out going forward. But a 3-4 road trip for the Milwaukee Brewers seemed a lot worse, didn't it? Boy, it was so important to come back and win on Sunday. After dropping those 2 games, in both of those games on Friday and Saturday in Los Angeles, in both of those games, tie game going into the bottom 8th inning on Saturday, and Hudson gives up those 2 home runs. Friday night, they have the 5-2 lead on the grand slam by Rhys Hoskins. Couldn't hold it. Again, the pen teetering a little bit, but still, to come back and have a game like they played on Sunday where they pulled away late, and it was 4-2, scored 5 unanswered runs late to get a comfortable win over the Dodgers. So you didn't get swept. It's not a defeatist attitude to say, hey, don't go to Los Angeles and get swept. When they dropped the opener against Colorado last week, I said, okay, if they could just get a split in the series. And they did. They came back. They won the next 2 games, lost on Thursday. They got a split against Colorado. Now, as they were talking on the Brewers television broadcast, teams that go into Colorado and then have to play in Los Angeles, it's tough for them because the bullpen usually gets taxed in Colorado, and then having to go to Los Angeles, it's usually tough. It's tough on teams. The Dodgers got a great record against teams that are coming to them after a series in Colorado. And the Brewers, I'm just glad they didn't get swept. I'm glad they didn't get swept. They still got a 5-game lead in this division. 5-game lead on St. Louis. St. Louis is right there. I've told you everybody else in this division is playing for wild card spots, in my opinion. Playing for wild card spots. But the Brewers and the Cardinals still have that 5-game lead on St. Louis. The Cardinals aren't out of this by a long shot. I mean, this is not the Brewers division. The Cardinals are hanging in there. They won on Sunday, and they beat Washington. I want to say they beat Washington. I believe it was like 8-2. I think they pulled away late too. So the Cardinals are right there. Everybody else, Cubs. In fact, I went on Cubs Twitter this weekend. I typed in Cubs. I typed in council fired. And Cub fans are coming after Craig. Oh, they are coming after Craig. They are not liking the job Craig is doing. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the week. And by the way, coming up tomorrow on the show, on Tuesday's show, we're going to talk Major League Draft. Danny Zielinski, good friend, draft expert. He was on with us last year. We'll talk about some of the guys that the Brewers could be looking at in the upcoming. He's interviewed a ton of these potential draft prospects. Danny Zielinski will join us tomorrow right here on Locked On Brewers. By the way, Cato Caitlin, was it Friday night? No, Cato Caitlin kind of is Brewer fan, huge Brewer fan. They had him on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago when the Brewers were in Los Angeles facing the Angels, and Caitlin lost his mind over the weekend. Classic Cato style. Oh, geez, he was on a hot one right there, man. He was on a roll, but he was raging. But seems like he's come down a little bit after that win. But Cato, he wasn't that happy after those first 2 games against the Dodgers. Cato Caitlin. But a win is a cure-all for everything. Brewers in first place. We'll talk about what we got coming ahead with the Milwaukee Brewers this week, heading into the off day on Monday. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. You're on Locked On Brewers to give you all the Brewers news every day. But you know what? We give the Brewers news year round, just like collection season. I don't want to combine the two, but collection season is year round as well. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS can stop coming after you for those unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Over 14 years experience, A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Where they owe taxes, they got complicated matters require tax planning. Finally hit that parlay this season. You got a form from the casino that says, hey, you need to fill this out. Well, give 1-800-549-1000. The friends at Tax Network USA a call. Visit them online. If you're watching me on YouTube, you see it right there, tnusa.com/locked on. Be sure to mention Locked On, and you'll receive a $250 discount on their services at Tax Network USA. Show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. Hope you came back and took the Brewers on Sunday, and we're going to get swept. What is that, like 6 times this year that the Brewers have had 3-game skids? They have never lost more than 3 games in a row. I think that's 6 3-game losing skids this year. Pretty consistent. You've been betting the Brewers all year long. Well, you're in good shape. FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. FanDuel doing something for all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Get down on the action. Whatever it is, baseball, is the king right now, the summer for the next couple of months until football gets going with exhibition play. But, man, baseball is the way to go. Brewers do have the day off on Monday. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The Brewers have an off day on Monday, and then they'll start a 3-game series with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then 3 with Washington coming in for the first time and only time this year. Chance to get fat on these teams. Little 6-game homestand before the All-Star break. Let's hope the Brewers can at least go 4-2. I know we all want to split this, or we all want to sweep these 6 games, but if we can go 4-2, heading into the All-Star break, a nice fat lead in the NL Central, we all be good with that. And let's hope between now and the next time that we talk, maybe some of these players like Turang, Megill, and Hudson can get added to this All-Star game. It's already a slap in their face that they're not on the team. Major slap, further disrespect. I put this tweet out as well on further disrespect. How are the Brewers and Dodgers not on Sunday Night Baseball? Oh, that's right. America's got to see Boston and New York play. You know, we all got to. That's must-see TV for all of us. We all here want to see the Red Sox and the Yankees again, and again. Can't get enough of the Red Sox and the Yankees, who play each other like 90 times a year and are always on Sunday Night Baseball. Dodgers and Brewers, 2 first-place teams. You know, the Brewers can't even get on Sunday Night Baseball when they're playing a great team like the Dodgers. Again, further disrespect. Major League Baseball this hates to see the Brewers prosper. But we love to see the Brewers prosper, don't we? And the Brewers are prospering. They got a 5-game lead. That's going to do it. Chuck Freeman. Again, follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Hit us up on the YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. And that'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. I just had to check something. If you're watching me on YouTube and you wonder why I ducked there for a second, I just had to make sure my mic was still on. That's happened a few times where it's automatically been shut off. And, of course, get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. Please set your alerts, set the subscriptions to Locked On Brewers. Man, this has been a great season so far. 3-4 road trip. Hey, not what we wanted, but we'll take it. Come home, start a series on Tuesday night. Again, Danny Zielinski joins me on Tuesday's episode of Locked On Brewers. We'll be talking who the Brewers might be interested in the Major League Draft. That is a week later. Good night, everybody. This is Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers.